Hello, you guys. Today, for this topic, we're talking about changing a repetitive life. I mean, if your life you felt like it was pretty routine before the pandemic, if anything, the pandemic kind of really made it a lot worse because now you can't even go to different places that you have to kind of search things up. So essentially, our days becoming like even more and more repetitive. And there are times when maybe we're just sitting here and we're like, is this really all there is to life? Like, is this it? I mean, now that I think about it, it actually sounds really philosophical, but uh, we're gonna get a lot more practical and not so much like the abstract things. I do like to talk about philosophical stuff, but today we are going to really zoom in on more so small things you can do to kind of switch it up. So I'm pretty much going to give you like a list. But if you have not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course the bell. So for this video, we're basically going to have two main sections because when we're trying to, I guess, make our life a little more interesting, there's two main ways that I'll go about approaching it. And one is changing just one single thing. And the second part is kind of focusing the repetition. So, I mean, here you might be thinking, oh, shoot, man, repeating things, having a daily routine, it's so boring, and nothing interesting is going to come out of it. But here, if we are going to do something, I feel like you might find these things a little different because even changing one single thing, it kind of shifts the rhythm of everything. There are actually good factors that comes out of having a repetitive life because when you're doing things repetitively, I guess, you're in motion, you're in rhythm, you're like, I know what to expect, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, and you don't have to think about it. And all you need to do is shift that attention a little bit towards somewhere else. Because let's say you're flying a plane and you're flying that plane straight. But now you just move the trajectory a little bit by a degree to the right? Just flying, you're like, oh shoot, let's tilt that a little bit. Within maybe the first mile, you might not see too much of a difference, but going down the line of 100 miles, 1,000 miles, you can start to really see that 1 degree of difference, that little move to the right, will suddenly become miles and miles of difference between the original destination and where the plane is going to. So, yeah, it's that little tweak. Don't underestimate what it can do for you and what that will make you adjust to a complete different place or something new that will be more interesting. The first thing that I have here is let's say if you're ordering coffee, you have a routine of just going and getting coffee. You can try changing the order to basically go down the entire menu and just try something new every single day because when we are doing something, there's a certain taste we like and we have our go-to drinks. And it might seem good, it might taste great, but after a while it does feel like, oh, okay, it's the same things, same expectations. But sometimes when you taste that different things, we'll really try something that's really, I don't know, exotic. You start to be able to expand your range of taste buds. And here, you're really focusing on one single change of motion of like just going down the next on the list, but technically you are exploring a whole entire thing. And once you're finished with one coffee shop, go to the next coffee shop and do the exact same things. And if you feel like this is like going like way too fast, you can even like try one new things per week. Yeah, so it's kind of like completely up to your pace. But focusing on one single change for coffee, it works. So that's one of the things that will be nice. The second one is if you're more of like an intellectual thinker and you like to use cool words, you can try a word of the day. For me personally, I kind of learn words from like reading books and then seeing the words in context than trying to like look at a word, memorize it, and then try to use it in a sentence and try to become part of my vocabulary. It doesn't work that well for me. But if you are the type that can just want something new and that works for you, that word of the day, I say go for it. And at the same time, it gives you a new way of thinking, because for us, if we want to change on a fundamental level, the first thing that we change is actually language. Because if you have a new way of describing things, a new way of seeing things, using a particular new word, then your world actually kind of expands a little bit, because now you have more ways of saying something that you previously won't be able to say. It's almost like your ability to describe what you see, and if you only have a certain amount of words, then you can only describe a certain amount of things. The next one is reading books, and I guess now some people use audiobooks, which is good. I feel like it's convenient. You don't have to like flip pages, and if that's for you, go for it. But I'd say setting aside a certain amount of time to listen through a book. It can be a novel. Novel's good, or it can be something that you will learn something in, like finance. You can learn about I don't know. Do they have like listening to computer programming? I don't think you can do that, right? It doesn't make sense, but you can listen to different skills that you want to learn, and maybe even learn a language. I feel like reading or listening to books is you are listening to someone else's like life story. Someone might take like a whole year or 2 years writing a single book and trying to compress it into the small amounts of very concise knowledge. So when you take the time and read it, you don't have to spend like your whole life trying to learn everything when someone else already compacted for you. If you're a reader or a listener, go ahead and try a book and just like listen to maybe 5 minutes a day or read 10 pages a day, and kind of pace yourself, give your time to digest. And this single action of just repeating this cycle gives you a lot more things to think about than just doing the same things again and again with no form of new source of like news or information, than just like looking at the news and seeing like, oh man, dude, oh, the world's getting worse and life kind of sucks. Another way is podcasts. Podcasts has been a huge part of everything now. Because you can go on and basically find almost anything that you want to listen to. And one of the things that I do not so much like about podcasts is that if you are doing podcasts, there's a huge chance that you're multitasking. You know what? Why don't I get into like the good parts before I get into the bad parts? So podcasts, you have tons of people with varieties of experts and be able to do a tons amount of interesting topics and interviews, and it focuses purely on audio part, so you can multitask if you want, and it gives a huge range of expansion and exploration just through your phone or through your computer. So I think listening to maybe 1 or 2 podcasts, even a whole week, they can change the way that you see things, which is good. Now let's get into the bad parts. For podcasts, I don't necessarily like, because when you're multitasking, you can't really take notes. If you're not a note taker, of course, it doesn't matter. But for me, I'm a note taker, so sometimes it feels like I like to have my thoughts written down and kind of look at it again and think about it, so that you're actually absorbing the knowledge that you have. Now, the second aspect is on focusing the repetition. So yeah, it sounds like weird, but I'm going to explain it, because sometimes I just make up phrases because I can't think of a way to better describe it without inventing stuff. But when you are growing in particular skills, there are some skills that are much better that comes with repetition. And if you already have a routine established and you're very good at just repeating what it happens, then you will be able to develop some skills much better. So take for instance, if you are trying to like draw a painting, painting requires a lot more creativity, and the whole process of painting something and selecting the object and picking like a person to draw and to sketching it, creating the concept and then painting it, the whole process of painting, it's requires a lot more creative parts, because there might be times when you're just sitting and you're thinking, it's like, what should I paint? Is that good or is that good? So this, and then you go into the aspects of using different techniques to actually paint the paint. So this is not a very easily repeatable skill. Well, it has a lot more creative components to it. And this versus punching a bag, which is good, which is you're strengthening your muscle memories, your bone density. You're just going and punching a bag, and you are becoming stronger when you punch a bag. But punching a bag is very straightforward. And if you can punch a bag 1,000 times, quickly, repeatedly, then you might have an edge over other people that are not as able to do that. So there are some skills that are much better with repetition and things that you can pick up if you are already on that rhythm. So that's what I'm saying, like some skills are much better if you are willing to put that time in and you know what your natural tendency is. So here I'll be going through a list that I feel like are more gravitated towards that sector. So the first one is, of course, martial arts. Martial arts it's pretty nice. I mean, here you can, if you want to strengthen your body and you just want something regular to kind of develop your muscles and the way that you carry yourself, because martial arts does impact confidence. So like to some degree it does help you mobilize your body more, and to some degree when you move your body more you get to keep that body longer, because your body is really like a machine. So if it's well oiled machine, okay, as long as it's like that, then you might be in your 80s and be able to walk and run, do push-ups, and be a really cool person that is able to do those things. So like martial arts helps you be able to strengthen your body, and other things are just self-defense. Like it's a discipline, self-defense, variety. So there's a lot of things that you can go with it. And I know that right now it might be a little tough to get like hand-to-hand or face-to-face learning as martial arts. So like if you are just fine with like kicking a bag or punching a bag, those things work too. But there's a lot of things that you can learn from, like different types of martial arts of all different countries. So I feel like that if you are comfortable with it and you have people that are vaccinated, then I'd say martial arts is a good way to practice and learn and be able to focus your skills. Second part that I want to talk about is music. So music, there's a huge genre of things that you can do. So you can do singing, you can purely play like piano, you can play all different type of instruments, you can do remixes, or you can create different music videos or something. So anything that deals with sounds, you can do it. And the thing with instruments is that the more you practice with it, the more comfortable you are with that particular instrument. So it's something that's directly related with how comfortable you are with the instrument and how it sounds, how it feels. So if the more time you spend with it, the more it becomes an extension of your body. And when you can play that really fluently, then great, that's something you can do. And now that becomes something else that you can, well, just not necessarily like be like, oh shoot, I can do the guitar when people come over, but it's something that you can really seek to grow and become really good at, and something that you can strive for to learn like more and more, and it becomes more fun. So that's one of the things that I feel like can explore into, because just by choosing the amount of instruments that you can have, like it's amazing. And now with the current technology, yeah, it's pretty good. Like there are some like software, or I'm not sure if it's an app, but there's a like guitars where you can literally plug the guitar and then put on headphones, and when you play it, only you can hear the sound that's coming out of the guitar. So if you're like, oh man, dude, I don't want to really disturb the people around me, and I just want to be in my room practicing, it can happen. Yeah, like there's those things where you can just play by yourself and you can hear how you play and just practice. So it's been really amazing what has been developed, coming out of like all these different technology. So yeah, explore different options. Running is another one. It's pretty fun. Actually, I take that back. It's fun for other people. For running, it's to some degree it's exercise for your heart, which is good. But at the same time, it can also become part of a bonding experience. So if you join a group of runners, which you just run together, it's pretty nice. Like you get a group where you are able to help exercise, or you can just find one other friend that maybe wants to walk together or wants to run together, and then bam, that's it. And at the same time, you're able to help create, just strengthen your cardio and your legs. And you might even like join set a goal for a marathon. I'm not sure, are marathons open right now? But like anyways, basically you can go and climb a hill or something, reach a destination. But running is a pretty good one, I think. So another one is knitting. I know that I'm not a knitter, but knitting's pretty, I feel like you can use a small of repetitive steps to be able to create something big. So it's almost like you can see the whole progress of what's happening. And sometimes people make like cute little objects that you can put around like the room, or you can even like knit like, I don't know, a hat you can wear because it's getting cold. So there are things that you can do to kind of switch it up, and then when you're comfortable with knitting, you might expand and maybe have two different colors. So like having knitting, it's another skill that I feel like it has a very repetitive emphasis that you can easily change into something that's much better if you're really good at it. Another one is memorizing. Like, I don't know if you've seen those people that are like, oh, what is 1986 January and like January the 3rd? Like, what day is that? And you'll have one of those guys that's like, oh, that's a Wednesday. I don't know if it's Wednesday, but like the person that can actually say those things, that's different calculations and sometimes memorizing. Because like, I don't know if you guys seen those shows where like Sherlock Holmes is super cool, and you have these guys doing memory palace where they're going in and it's like a nice little library, and they can actually like try to like take little mental books out of the library and be able to look up information. And that is what like memory can do for you. And if you're able to develop something like the memory palace, then you might be doing exceptionally well for your tests. But just a little word of caution, this does take a while to build, and not that I have actually built it or developed one, so I have seen people are able to do it, but it's something it'll be nice to work towards too. So if you have the ability to repeat, this can be for you too. Another one is doing things with your left hand or opposing hand. If you're left-handed, then you do things with your right hand, because they say if you do things a certain way, a new way of doing things, then you are kind of expanding the way that your brain restructures or reconnects with other people. Some people say that using your left hand means that you activate your right brain for creative purposes. I don't know. I mean, maybe it does, but it does open up different opportunities in the way that you interact with the world. So if you are, let's say, writing through things with your opposing hand, then try it. And it might be extremely hard, can't even write things straight, but it can be something that's fun and you try to develop over time. Just like practice writing a sentence or brushing your teeth. And then over time, when you become ambidextrous, who knows, maybe you are becoming more creative. And you can let me know and be like, oh dang, wow, I actually did become creative. And Augustus, guess what? Well, that thing is actually right. And yeah, and then I'll give you a comment. And the last one on the list that I think it's probably helpful is cooking. Cooking, I feel like, is pretty much for all, like everyone, because you need food to survive. And if you want to have like control over your food, what goes in it, and potentially the taste and everything, then learn how to cook. So I feel like cooking, it's good because you can follow a recipe and do something. And I know that some cooking takes a lot more finesse, a lot more technique, but you can always start with simpler things, like just cooking an egg omelet or cook rice. So things that doesn't require as much, but gradually build up to things that you do have. And here you can follow something with like a clear set of instructions. So if you are cooking like and constantly repeating the process, then it becomes much easier, and then you're able to develop something that I feel like is potentially something that will get good with repetition. Are there creative elements to cooking? Of course. But there are some techniques that are really good with just repetition, kind of like feeling the meat and then making sure that it's the proper temperature and then cooking it on the pan when it's hot in a certain way. So there's certain things that you will pick up as you gradually doing again and again, and you become better at it. So that is it. I mean, this one's pretty much like me giving like a huge list of things that you can potentially do. And hopefully you heard some of them and you're like, wow, you know what? That skill can be pretty like interesting. Maybe I could try this. And hopefully you do try it and your life is now potentially a little more different, and you can actually try different ways to make your life a little more interesting. And no one likes a boring life, but here it is. So if you found this video helpful, you can like, share, subscribe, comment, and that is it. And I will talk to you guys next time.